class. For this video, I wanted to go over some principles of a successful abstract. As you can see on this screen, I have adapted the earlier expose example from week 10 for purposes of illustrating what a successful abstract will encompass. Please note, as I warn on this screen, that the abstract should be formatted according to the guidelines established in the Week 10 video. The formatting below is meant to help you understand successful approaches to the abstract, so please do not compose the abstract and format it as a bulleted list. And that will go for the annotated bibliography and for the glossary that you'll see in the Week 11 videos. The bullets are meant to help you chunk information and better digest the properties of a successful abstract, annotated bibliography, and glossary. For purposes of a successful abstract, you want to provide the reader, which is of course me, with enough information that I am able to follow your line of thinking, your argument, and that basically requires you to provide me with basic information. To write a successful abstract, you'll need to answer your research question by answering smaller related questions. The best way, I think, to analyze or break down the big question into smaller questions is to use what journalists call the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, why. Some people include a 6th question, which is how, and it's up to you as to whether or not that how is useful. But all of you should think about the 5 W's. If you can answer the 5 W's with your research question, then it means that you know enough to write your abstract. If you are unable to answer the 5 W's in relationship to your research question, then it means you need to do some more basic research. And here, basic research means using popular sources, and yes, even Wikipedia, to get a better understanding of what it is that you're actually communicating to your reader. Here is my big question, my research question. Why did British Romantic poetry appear in the Lake District? I have broken this question down into the 5 W's. Who? Who, of course, is asking who are the major characters that I will be writing about for my research. In my hypothetical essay, the major characters are Dorothy and William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Now, there might be other characters that I add later on to my research, but for the time being, I'm interested in these 3 poets. What? I'm interested in talking about Romanticism and poetry. Notice, though, that the word Romanticism needs to be defined. What is Romanticism? I will want to define that in my abstract so that my reader understands what movement of poetry I'm talking about. It's also useful for your reader to have some specific examples of what Romantic poetry, British Romantic poetry is. So specific examples I would write about in the abstract would be the lyrical ballads and the prelude. When am I talking about? I'm talking about the late 1700s, early 1800s. Where? The Lake District of Northern England. Why? So this is the question that is probably closest, as you can see here. It's closest to your big research question, and that's why I'm putting it last. And my answer to this big question is that poets visiting a natural setting inspired a change in poetic practices. Okay, so they changed from one thing to Romanticism by visiting the Lake District. And so to answer that question more effectively, I have to answer what artistic movements dominated before Romanticism. And another way of putting that is, what was Romanticism reacting to? And you can see here another thought I have is city versus country. Now, I have not answered all of these questions in as much detail as I need. This is just meant to get you started and to think about what will be necessary to answer for a successful abstract. As I've said before in class and in previous videos, You will likely write your abstract last after you have compiled all of your sources and written the annotated bibliography and the glossary. Once you have that information, you'll be in a better position to answer all of these questions fully so that you can write the successful abstract. One last thing to consider also with your abstract. Because the abstract is long, you may want to actually have or consider trying out a hook, a few sentences that attract the reader and help the reader situate himself in the reading experience of your research. You can see, of course, how Eric Weiner does this in the first 3 chapters of Geography of Genius. So again, to successfully answer your research question and to help your reader understand what your argument is in an abstract, break down your research question into the 5 W's and make sure that you clearly lay out who, what, when, where, and why your research entails a particular type of creativity and a particular type of place. That concludes this video on writing a successful abstract.